Thank you for auditing Professor Skye's Record Review, the only first listen new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after finishing grading the finals for one of his classes. They did okay. Online testing is not awesome. I'm going to be reviewing an album by E-40 called The Commentator. And, you know, I'm really excited about this. It's an EP. It's definitely worth a listen. I only review music that I like. And I've had sort of like, the second that I started listening to it, just the first 10 seconds of this album, I was just like, oh my God, I love E-40. The word that came to my mind is E-40 is a national treasure. We need to, give him the Nobel Prize for Literature, Like, we need to protect him and celebrate him. He's very overlooked, very underrated. He does things that other rappers don't do, and he's been doing it for decades and decades and decades. So I had this concept, E-40 is a national treasure, but I don't own a single E-40 album. I don't listen to E-40 with any regularity whatsoever. Every time I hear E-40, I'm psyched, I'm happy, I love it. I love his flow, I love his style, I love his idiosyncrasies, but for some reason, I have never in my entire life, with one brief exception that I'll get to soon, ever thought, hey, I want to listen to E-40 and press to play. So I want to talk about that kind of contradiction. How is it that he can be somebody who is so clearly original and old school and hardworking and like interesting, yet so ignored? Maybe there's something about his music. Maybe there's something in what makes him interesting that also makes him hard to listen to. I'm going to get into that in this review. Now, what is it that makes him so great? I'm going to get to the vocabulary in a second. I will say that for me, he is capable of saying the stupidest things, but he has this rapid-fire flow, this funny way of rapping, this really weird voice that he gets into, where he can say something that is not catchy, that you don't want to sing along to, but for some reason it gets in your head and you just want to repeat it over and over again. I actually have to not listen to E-40 mainly because once I do, I start trying to talk like him. I start, like yesterday I was listening to the album and my wife was like, Skye, stop. I'm like, you want me to stop? Like you get so in to talking like E-40 because he has such an individual flow. He's sort of like the old character actor Walter Brennan from the Westerns. The guy, like when you start talking like, when you start talking like Walter Brennan, like you can't stop. And in the same way, E-40 has that. Now, let me give you an example. So I said that I've never purchased any E-40 music. That's true. I'm going to take you all the way back to 2002 when I lived in Oakland, California. And when I lived there, I wanted to get into the local rap scene, or at least know what local rappers were doing. I couldn't get into Too Short for reasons which I will discuss in track number 3 of this EP. But then, so this was back after Napster, but before stealing music was just not done anymore. There was a service called LimeWire, and I just typed in Bay Area rap. And the first thing that came up was this bizarre remix of a song, which I now realize was by Clips, with Pusha T, produced by the Neptunes, produced by Pharrell, called Grinding. And it was this remix that was made with E-40. And for all these years, I thought it was lost. I couldn't find the song until yesterday. I looked for it too. It turns out it's just a West Coast remix. But it starts off with E-40 saying the following lines. Dale Earnhardt signature edition, optional package. Optional package. What's the next line? In my 2002 Monte Carlo bumping E-Water and fabulous. But just that opening line, I remember walking around in Oakland, going to my job in Berkeley, which is right on the border with Oakland. And I remember having my iPod back in the day, one of the original iPods, and I would just hit reverse just to hear that opening line again and again. Dale Earnhardt signature edition, optional package. Like Dale Earnhardt signature edition, optional package. Dale Earnhardt signature edition, optional package. In my 2002 Monte Carlo climate control, bumping E-Water and fabulous. That assemblage of words is completely bizarre. I mean, you have to understand that Dale Earnhardt Sr. was a famous NASCAR driver who died, that Monte Carlos were the cars that were used in NASCAR that were made by Chevy, that they made a signature edition of that driver, and then the fact that they released it in 2002, and then just throwing in the climate control. Nobody can write lines or rap in a way that draws you in like E-40 does with that line. All throughout this album, I'm just going to be throwing little examples of things that he says where he's just like they're not smart. You know, that's the thing. It's not that he's like particularly clever or particularly good of a wordsmith. Like in terms of how he uses words. Vocabulary, yes, but actually how he puts words together isn't always that interesting. But it's this flow that he has with this bizarre voice, this bizarre vocabulary, and you just want to say it. Say it with me. Dale Earnhardt, signature edition, optional package. Optional package. So that is why I love E-40. And that's why I think if you've never listened to E-40, listen to something by him. Listen to this. Listen to Curb Commentator Channel 1. It's, I've listened to, I don't know, he's released over 25 albums at least. I've listened to at least 10 of them. They're all pretty consistent in quality. The production changes to be up with the times. Like one album, he had a featuring with T-Pain. This album has a little bit of trap stuff on it. But basically what remains the same, what you always want, what E-40 always brings you, is this completely idiosyncratic flow and approach to lyricism. The thing he deserves most credit for, obviously, is vocabulary. So, I'm not saying he's Shakespeare. He's not. But he has added so many words to the lexicon of the United States and therefore the world. Like, he invents terms and he finds terms from the streets and he popularizes them. The term popo for police, that was him. Saying, you feel me. Well, he took that from someone on the streets, but then he turned it into, you smell me. I've been saying you smell me for decades. I didn't know that was E-40. Referring to marijuana as broccoli, using the term slap to describe music. Have you ever heard anyone say that slaps? Even fashizi. All that talk was popularized by him in Too Short on a song a long time ago. He has this playfulness, and that's the other aspect to it that makes it so great. Now, it's not quite like Bismarcky, where it's sort of playful and just playful. There's a menace to E-40, which I think is maybe what takes me off a little bit. So much of his thematics are about crime and prostitution and selling drugs, that the combination of sort of silly and like very serious topics is kind of unsettling to me. Maybe that's why I don't listen to it as much. But still, like, just because the fact that he rapped like this and talked fast, and he goes up and down with his words, and he has this crazy approach, that's another thing that makes him so important, I think, to the rap genre. Like, the rap genre would be very, very poor if it didn't have this influence. And it's not just because he's from Vallejo. It's not just because he's from the West Coast, not LA, that he shows the geographic representation of the Bay Area. It's not even really just that. It's more this bizarre flow he's out there. Another thing you can see that's funny, this name of the album, The Curb Commentator, and the cover, which I'll show you in a second when I play it for you. It's him like on a Fox News set, He has kind of like a playfulness, and I think that comes from the fact that he's always using these funny words. He's always coming up with this interesting way of rapping. So why don't I listen? Why don't I own E-40 albums? I think part of it is that a little goes a long way. And I think that's why this EP is such a great place to go. Truly, like, listen to it. I have not had as good of a time listening to a rap album ever as I have listening to this. That's maybe a little bit of an exaggeration. But you don't get much happier than I got listening to this rap album. It's solidly produced. It has this interesting flow, good rhymes, catchy, cool, interesting. Like, it's a very solid album. But if you go by his back catalog, some of his albums are like well over an hour. And I watched an interview just while I was grading today. Multitasking. I watched an interview with him where he talked about his writing process. And he was sort of like, I've already said everything I need to say. Like, the game, he said, is recycled. So you get a little bit of that on here. you know, and we'll talk about that as we get more specific into the song. So let's start off with the first track, which is the best track. One of the best tracks I've heard all year, Go. The production is insane. I don't get this production at all. Not as insane as my dog Toby, who's about to start barking and make me edit this. Toby, I'm talking about E-40. Don't bark at that dog. Don't bark. He's gonna bark anyway. Well, I paused the video and he ended up not barking anyway. So this track, Go, is one of my favorite tracks I've heard all year. It is just a completely bizarre song out of left field. For the production, it's these people going, oh, oh, and then like these weird James Bond like horn hits kind of out of nowhere. I don't know what's going on here, but then mixed in with it is this, you know, Dale Earnhardt style rapping. So I'm just gonna play you the first 14 seconds of this song, right? And you're gonna hear it. So listen for the way he creates words, the way that he makes these sounds. And I am going to play it for you right.
All I need is my family and dividends. Cool. Stick with what I got, don't need no new friends. Because the truth of the matter, now that I think about it, people that I thought was solid turned out to be salad. Tipsy while I'm serving, smoking urban. Sipping Capper Belt, that's E-40's new bourbon.
Just, what? People I thought was solid are salad? That is stupid. That is a stupid line. Saying I thought people who were solid are salad is not a very good line, but in the mouth of E-40, it is brilliant. It's awesome. And now for the rest of my life, every time I eat a salad, I will think, people I thought were solid are salad. Oh, oh. It's just amazing. Only he can do that. And he's also kind of nerdy, you know? Like I was re-listening to one of his older albums and he made reference to the dragons in Game of Thrones, like by name, like Trogdor and Hafakalup, whatever it is. And then in this song, like he acts like he doesn't know the name, played by Peter Dinklage. He says that he likes to drink like the midget on Game of Thrones. It's like, dude, you know his name is Tyrion Lannister. Don't pretend like I pretended I don't know the names of the dragons. Drogon is one of them. I forget. I do legitimately forget the other one. You can put it in the comments if you want. The next track, Up or Down, contains one of the other great things about E-40. He has these ad-libs, and he'll often just start off a verse by going, ugh. Which, I don't know. Yeah, it's funny to me. I think it's cool. Ugh. It's a great trademark. This is with Wiz Khalifa. I've never really heard anything Wiz Khalifa's done that I've liked, and he's perfectly fine on this. A very interesting sample that's just a voice repeated over again. You're going up or down, I'm going up. You're going up or down, you're going up. Another great line from him, from E-40. Everything I do is butter, ice cream, candy bars, granola. If I wanted to, every day I could buy a Range Rover. Just this idea, this fast rapping. Everything I do is butter, ice cream, candy bars, granola. I get it. I get what he's saying, but I'm so happy the way that he does it. The next track is called $19 Lap Dance. Okay, I'll go to the good and then I'll go to the bad. The good, again, a great E-40 line in here. I've got some news you can use. Some of you dudes playing football with basketball rules. Just great. Playing football with basketball rules. I don't know what that looks like, but that's a good way to insult somebody. It has this chorus. I got $19 for a lap dance, but only $1 for a cigarette. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's slang for something. I don't know, but it's a very catchy chorus. It's so catchy that it's almost like a song you'd sing at a baseball game. Like, everybody clap your hands. I got $19 for a lap dance, but only $1 for a cigarette. Dale Earnhardt. So it has that quality, and I love rap songs with that quality, like a chorus that is bizarre. Like, again, I keep using the word bizarre, strange, weird. I mean, that's a weird thing. $19 for a lap dance, only $1 for a cigarette. If you know what that means, you can rap genius me and tell me in the chorus. Does it just mean what he's saying? I don't know. But then we get to the other problem. And this is the reason why I don't listen to Too Short, is that this song is a lot about the pimp game. And I realized that I don't like rap music about pimping. There's not that much rap music about pimping, but I don't like it. I actually can't listen to it. Like it makes me uncomfortable. So I went on a little meditation about this. Why do I accept black on black crime and selling crack and murdering people and just murder and infidelity and all these other things that I don't like? But I draw the line at lyrics about like punching women because they're not giving you money. And I realized it was because of this. The crack game, the values of selling crack cocaine are the values of the United States of America. Those are the values that are actively being supported, right? So if you're a stockbroker, if you're a businessman, President of the United States, the goal that you have is the same goal as a crack dealer. Make money for yourself, don't care about anyone else. Make more money. If you're not making more money, then you're going to fail. Okay? So I don't like those values, but those values are already well in place and they're already well accepted. And to take a stand against the consumer values of hip hop and the sort of free market capitalism represented by the crack game is sort of taking a stand against all capitalism at this point. And I am a capitalist, even though I think a lot about capitalism, I have problems with it. When you get to the prostitution rap, as a society, fortunately, we are actually trying to move towards equality between men and women. It is not an accepted fact that women are subservient, that it's bros up and hoes down, that G's up, hoes down. We are actually, as a society, trying to move past that. So when I hear rapping, when it talks about like, I wore out my kneecap kicking a hoe's ass, stuff like that, I understand it. It's hyperbole, it's playas, it's abstract, but the real world application of the crack game is make money. The real world application of prostitution rap is hit women, and women are less than. So there it is. That's the main reason I can't make it through a Too Short album. And I understand that he's great and he's influential, and that's a huge blind, like, I don't have peripheral vision if I can't respect Too Short. But I just can't listen to it. It's too unpleasant for me. And E-40, that's not all he raps about, but he raps about it enough that I just realized that has kept me at a distance from him. That said, the featuring on this has a lot of very unpleasant references towards hitting prostitutes, but it's actually a very well done featuring. It makes me realize that the Wiz Khalifa, his style doesn't actually match that well with E-40 as much as this does. The next track is Smelling Like a Brick. This is just a standard crack rap. Again, I believe he says, I poundeth the pavement. I think he adds a TH on there, speaking of Shakespeare. But he's 53 years old. It's probably been a good 3 decades since he has had to sell crack cocaine, if he ever sold crack cocaine. So it is kind of going back to this idea of just the game is recycled. It just seems like he doesn't have that many things to rap about, so he just needs to pick something to say something. But it's a catchy track. It's got a good chorus. A good chorus that's kind of boring but catchy. There's an interesting moment on here, though, where he actually loses track of the flow. So his flow is amazing, impeccable even. But in this one track, he's talking about how he would meet his connect. He'd meet the person who would give him the drugs that he would sell. And he said that he would meet them at a Valero, which is a gas station, or at the Flying J truck stop. Now, if you're like me and you've traveled the country a lot on car, you know Flying J, but Flying J is kind of a weird reference. But if you actually listen to the way he says it, he loses the flow of the rap by saying the Flying J truck stop. Like, he's so insistent on giving you this detail, because of course so much of crack rap is just giving the details that people go, oh, that's real. Yeah, that's a real, only real crack dealers know that detail. So he's so into these details that he actually loses flow in the song. Interesting. In the last verse, he talks about starting a fast food franchise. And again, that's what I'm talking to you about. The values of selling crack are the same as the values of opening up a fat burger. They're the same thing. The track ends with the EP ends with a track called Bet. Actually sounds kind of crunkish. Again, more details. I meet my customers at Trader Joe's. What you say? Trader Joe's? Now every time I go to Trader Joe's, I will just have that in my head. I meet my customers at the parking lot of Trader Joe's. What you say? Trader Joe's. Kind of a bland trap beat. You know, when my son heard this, he was like, you know, people are making music like this now. I'm like, yeah, but it makes sense, yes, to stay relevant. So there you go. That's the album. I like it. When Curb Commentator Channel 2 comes out, I'll listen to it. I'll like it. Every couple years, I'll listen to E-40. I'll be happy. I'll think about the way that he phrases things. I'll be a little bit sad that I don't like it more. And every time those you know, slap a hoe lyric comes on, I'll just be, I don't know. All right. Well then, for Dale Earnhardt and for Toby, who is totally calm now, there's the camera.